Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Coming up, former wild child, can I say that?
So I was chasing this feeling from the age of 16 that I was actually drinking to get drunk, to get to oblivion from the start. And I've only just worked out the big why.
I'm pausing now. I'm pausing for the big why. You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens a door on men's mental health. And tonight's guest, we have none other than former wild child, can I say that?
You can say all you want.
Comedian extraordinaire, Martyn Davies. Martyn, welcome to The Hurt Locker. How are you today?
Thank you very much. No, I'm good. And just thanks for having me on.
No, it's great to have you on. As Tim said in the background, you know, we've had loads of support from comedians, etc. So it's great to have somebody on who is quite raw, honest, open, candid about their life journeys, you know, and what's brought them to where they are at now. Before we start, how are you coping with the weather?
Just about, Yinka. I'll be honest with you. I do like the sun. I do like the heat. But the problem we've got with this country, we're just not set up for it, are we? We're just, I'm sitting in a cave. I've got my curtains closed. I've got this rubbish fan blowing heat onto me. If I'm honest, trying to keep cool. I'm debating whether to get aircon put in, but yeah, I'm not going to knock it. You know, it is lovely, but as I say, we're just not set up for it, are we?
No, not at all. But you know what? It's great to have you on here today. And I'll preface the fact that I called you a wild child and all of that because of your heady days in the past. And we'll tap into that as well. But we'll also tap into where you're at now and the course you've taken in terms of where you're at the moment. I think I asked a question about how you're coping with the weather because sometimes we'll associate sun comes out, we'll have a few sherbets and all that, and then anything happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Anything happens. So you know what I'm saying there.
I totally do. It's a big one, you know. And for me, back in the day, I'll say that now because I can, because it's 8.5 years ago, you know, since I've had my last drink or anything mind altering. But it was the perfect excuse, Yinka. When the sun used to come out, used to get warm, it was like pub, beer garden. And for me, I just knew that if the sun came out, I could just be out for longer. It just extended my drinking period. And as I say, for me, it was just an excuse because whatever partner I was with at the time, oh, it's a nice sunny day. It's what you do. You go out and you enjoy a drink. And normal people, inverted commas, not like me, who haven't got an off button, normal people can go out to a sunny beer garden, take a couple of drinks, have a lovely time, and not need to actually get trashed or get drunk. But with me, every time, you know, I took a drink, I had to have another one. One was just never enough for me. And I spent my whole life, if I'm honest, from the age of 16, 17, when I first started drinking, it's quite scary that I was actually drinking to get drunk, to get to oblivion from the start. And I've only just worked out the big why, the actual end part to it. There's a lots of layers to this, and we can go into it. But the big reason, the why I needed alcohol or substance in my body, it's been a big revelation. But it's taken 8.5 years of remaining abstinence to get this, you know?
I'm pausing now. I'm pausing for the big why. Because for me, it would be easy to say, oh, what was the childhood traumas? Was there this? Was there that? And all of that. And I'm not being flippant when I say that. And it's easy for me to ask those questions as well. But sometimes we can look at the sun and we can use that as the excuse, as the trigger, just to, it'd be rude not to.
No, exactly. And yeah, the why is the big one. And you're totally right. When it comes to addiction, everybody just focuses. Um, well, I say everyone, a lot of people are like, oh, he must have had a lot going on. Oh, it must have been a, quite a tough childhood. It might have, to make him want to change the way he feels to the extent I did. And my truth is, I had an amazing upbringing, an absolute perfect upbringing. When I got, I would say, to the age of 16, I was into my partying and I was into my clubbing, I was into my raving, and it was just what you done at the time. But I say it's just what you done. I, looking back now, conditioned who I hung around with and where I went. So
Yes.
from an early age, yes, don't get me wrong, I love the dance music, I love the raves, but if there was somebody that wasn't drinking or getting on the pills or something, I'd be like, whoa, why are you even hanging
That's
around
a
us?
bit weird. Yeah.
Why are you even out with us?
Mm.
I couldn't see. So from a very, very early young age, 16, going out, clubbing, raving, I won't lie, I absolutely loved the feeling produced by
Yeah.
alcohol and by drugs. It was the most amazing feeling. And when I mixed alcohol, ecstasy, speed, or in the end, cocaine with alcohol, I thought I'd found a perfect recipe because it just made me feel part of it, brought me to the front of wherever I was. It just gave me this kind of superpower or this big cuddly blanket that was
Yes.
wrapped round me. And at that stage of my life, I was just enjoying myself. I just thought, probably like a lot of people do, this is a period that I'm going through. This is me growing up, 16, 17, 18. Give it a few years, I'll settle down. And yeah, I won't be doing it. But what I didn't realize is I have an addict makeup, and I can look at this and it can go back to when I was growing up, the certain behaviors that I was actually doing, um, my collections of small toys, of rubbers. I had to have this particular set of clothes or outfit to go to the football, or so I can look back and unwind before alcohol, before drugs. And I knew that my behaviors, um, well, I know now that there was something there. So alcohol and drugs were there all through my life up until I got sober at 41, which is quite a long way. It's quite a lot. Um, so the big revelation, Yinka, that I was talking about that I have recently discovered, and listeners and yourself may be able to guess what I'm about to say because I haven't shut up. I've run off for about 10 minutes.
Go on.
ADHD.
Okay.
So,
I want you to continue, but it was quite funny because when you started speaking about rubbers and this sense of style of dress and needing to have this and that, the word or phrase that come to mind was special interest. You
yeah,
became obsessive with special interest. And I'm not trying to be cliched and it be a catch-all and all that, but that's where my mind went then. So you've had a late diagnosis.
I have. So I've had the addict gene running through me, right? But last year and a half of my recovery, it's been tough, Yinka, man. It's been tough. I haven't been able to focus on one thing. I've got multiple projects on the go. I get extremely exhausted. I can have a good night's sleep and wake up and feel like I haven't even slept. I can have three conversations at once with my poor partner. It drives her mad. Um, but all this revelation has only unfolded, as I say, over the last year and a half. And I struggled and I'd heard about medication And I've also fully aware through my work in addiction that I do that people with ADHD will self-medicate, and they will self-medicate with alcohol, with substance. You take having an addict gene or whatever you want to call it, an addict makeup as well, put that into the mix, and you've got you've got a danger point, because
Absolutely.
I can remember taking my first line of coke and thinking that it was just like someone putting the light switch on. I just went back in the room. I'm on this
I've
level.
arrived.
Yeah. And I felt, this is going to be weird for some people listening, I felt normal, right? I felt normal. So I was chasing this feeling from the age of 16. I wanted to stay on that level with alcohol, with substance, but obviously I wanted all of it.
Absolutely.
I couldn't just do a small part. So just to bring this ADHD part to kind of a close to where I am now, I actually received my ADHD medication yesterday. I've actually got it sat on the table. I haven't taken it today. I haven't started it yet because I've had a couple of things to do today. I had this to do with you guys. I wanted to go for a run, and I need to manage how I take it, just in case there's any side effects or anything. So it was a late diagnosis, and I went on the right to choose. I asked my GP to put me on the right to choose, because I know some people, it's taken them several years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know in Liverpool, the waiting list can be up to 7 years if you go through the NHS, which is ridiculous.
It is really, really ridiculous. And, you know, a lot of people might say, oh, it's just a buzzword, all this late diagnosis. Why is this? It's because there's more awareness and people are living better. They're choosing to live healthier. And so you actually recognize it. If you're not drinking or not taking drugs, you know, you can realize that something isn't quite right. If you're getting smashed all the time and getting on it all the time, you probably won't even know in your lifetime unless, you know, you actually abstain from it. So, yeah, I've got the medication. I'm ready to go tomorrow. But I'm very grateful to the Right to Choose pathway, which is like a third-party provider that works alongside the NHS to relieve them of the pressure. I was asked which provider I wanted to go to, and I picked Care ADHD UK. I can't fault it. It's been a year from the initial filling out the forms to getting my medication, but I'm extremely grateful, Yinka, to have something that I've heard through other people that are in recovery is life-changing. It really just quietens the head. It helps you focus. So I'm excited, as you can probably tell.
Martyn, I'm genuinely, sincerely, I'm happy for you. You know, sincerely. I've known many people who have gone on that pathway, tried to receive a diagnosis, and they've been told no, and they've just been left just floundering. What do I do next?
I feel for these people, man. I really do. And also, I nearly just threw these bits of paper away because of the time scale it takes. You know, I'm grateful for a year. Oh my God, people listening to be like, you lucky bugger.
That's what I was going to say. You're one of the lucky ones.
But it is a postcode lottery. It really is. And it also is, we can use this postcode lottery in the recovery world, getting access to rehab and getting access to detox, you know, in a social setting by, you know, within the services. Unless you pay private, you can go, you know, you can go tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But this postcode lottery for life-saving medication, new start to your life, unfortunately, that is where it is. But what I will say, the diagnosis came fairly early for me, within 6 months. But then what actually happens, if you're not aware, you then get left, and I called it no man's land. So they tell you, what you're suffering from. Yes, you have got ADHD. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Close your laptop. It was done online. But living, knowing that you was actually right, something's not quite right, and the next part to actually fix that, you know, you just want that. You just want it. And adding in my gene of addiction, obviously I wanted it quickly. All what I was feeling and what I've described before, I just want this gone. And I know it was coming, but I was close to giving up. So what I will say to any listeners that are either thinking about it or on this pathway, please just stick with it, because it does come. It really does. And the right to choose is a little magic word. You know, if you don't
It
know,
is.
go
It
and
is.
ask your receptionist to be put on right to choose, because they won't.
Absolutely.
They won't if you don't ask.
Nobody freely volunteers that. You've got to know about it. You've got to know that phrase yourself, and then the next steps. Can I just go back then, growing up, before you started taking the pill, before you started drinking? What was growing up like for you? I can tell you the southwest.
I'm
Is it
down
south?
in it. I'm down in Essex.
You're in Essex,
I'm southeast. Yeah, I
southeast.
grew up.
Okay,
I grew up in a little place called Whittam,
okay,
which is in between Chelmsford and Colchester.
okay. So what was that like?
Growing up, it was good. Me and my older brother, there was two of us. It was a great life I had in Whittam. From a young age, I was always on the go. I was always on the go, as I described before, to an extent that sometimes my dad had to take me on away days, had to take me out of the house, especially at Christmas or Easter, just to give my mum a break, right? And I say this stuff now, it's
You were
really
full on.
interesting. I was full on, but you can see straight away the ADHD there straight away, to why I was always on the go. My older brother, he was very happy sitting in his bedroom on his Amstrad CPC 364, I think, or 264, great computer that we had. And he'd be sitting writing programs, or would be sitting learning to play the guitar. I was just out and about I was like a Duracell bunny, right? And I had to ask my mum and dad about this ADHD journey. There were certain questions in the paperwork about,
Yes.
was there any noticeable signs? And it was hard for my parents because they've been through my addiction, right? And I'll be honest, they didn't get it, because what happens is with family, the loved ones, sometimes they think, what have they done wrong? Is there something
Yeah.
that we have missed?
That we could have
And
done differently. Yes.
this is it. And there was absolutely nothing. This is the thing. And ADH stuff back in the day, you were just a naughty little kid, you know. But I wasn't naughty. I've said naughty there, and I should really pull that back, because when you think of ADH, my mum and dad, the first thing they said, you wasn't naughty. So the perception that some people have of this ADH thing is, oh, you must have been a naughty boy growing up. There was none of that. I was just very, how do I put it? Always on the go.
Yes.
And I was always into something or another thing. So I love my sports.
Okay.
I played football. I played well. And not blowing my own trumpet, I think round about the age of 16, I could have possibly played for a much better level. But that was the age where I discovered the partying. And
Of course.
so who's going to get up on a Sunday morning and you can go out all night, you know?
Absolutely.
When I look at what I done hobbies wise, I can look at football, I can look at kickboxing, I can look at boxing, and how I bounced around, wanting to do the next one. So you can see the pattern from a very, very young age. So life was good in Whittam. And at school, I noticed in secondary school when I went in, I had a struggle, kind of feeling socially accepted and not quite knowing where to fit in. Like
Okay.
I didn't want to fit in with the naughty kids that were smoking or the pot smokers. I didn't want to hang around with the geeks. Um, I didn't know where to place myself. And what I did find early, and I did drink when I was at school, was that stuff. And that stuff helped to an extent. When Martyn took a drink, I felt part of it, brought me to the front of the crowd. But underlining that, what I've only just found out, having ADHD, I was actually kicking my neurotransmitters up the arse in my mind to actually getting me to a place where other people normal people wouldn't actually need that, if you know what I mean. So,
Right.
so from a young age, so my progression was alcohol. I smoked a bit of weed, but I wasn't very good at drinking. I say that when I drank, it was always to black out and I'd always be ill.
Got you.
But
Got
the
you.
madness of it is, I kept on going back, doing it again.
Why do you think that? Why is it? Because it, I was going to ask, why do you think that was that you kept on returning back to it? But because it took you to a level, you plateaued at a level that you could understand and you felt comfortable in your own skin? Or was there something else there?
No, 100%. 100%. It took me to that place where I could stay for a period of time, but I wasn't happy just staying there with 3 cans. You know, I had to have all the cans and I had
Yes.
to get to that stage of being unwell. And it's really interesting. We can go into this now, like the actual mental and physical side of addiction, because it's really, really interesting. Because when I take a drink, what we've been talking about, or I take a line of Coke, I can't just have one. I have to continue. I have to continue. And unfortunately, what happens if you've got my makeup, consequences start to come in your life because of the way you're drinking, you're taking drugs, you're losing relationships, you're getting caught drink driving, you're not showing up for work. All these sort of things start to come into play. And for me, being in recovery, looking back a lot, like I have done a lot of work on myself, I can see where all these consequences were, but I kind of just steamrolled all over the top of them and just kind of laughed it off. And that's not normal behavior, because if somebody got drunk and was seriously ill or got into a fight, nearly ended up in prison, it might be enough to stop you repeating that behavior.
Absolutely. Something's got to change. Something's got to give.
This
Absolutely.
is it. But for me, from 16 all the way through to 41, my consequences just started to rack up, rack up, rack up, rack up, rack up. And we'll come to how it all ended shortly. But,
Okay.
you know, if you add into that all my behaviors, my physical behaviors, the mental side of it, this is the interesting part. So when I used to come round from a binge, and at the end, the insane thing is I could go out for a drink and not come home for 4 days at the end. This is the insanity
That
of
was
where
that was a regular occurrence.
towards the end, I would just, you know, go out for a loaf of bread and come home 4 days later. It's ridiculous, right? I bump into someone, something, and I'm gone. But a normal person would maybe just have one pint with that bloke that he's bumped into and just go, I've got to go home. I've got responsibilities now. I need to get back home. But once I've had that one drink, it sets off a compulsion within me for more. Okay. And the other thing with the mental side is, as I say, when I come back from these 4 days or a couple of days, my mind will tell me it wasn't that bad. It wasn't.
Okay. Okay. Your mind's telling you it wasn't that bad, but if, say, for example, you're in a relationship and the other half is giving you down the banks and you're just saying to yourself, it wasn't that bad. Why is she giving me grief and all of that? how does that reconcile itself? It doesn't.
It doesn't. And this is why addiction is an illness. Okay. It's a mental and it's a physical illness. And it kept telling me time and time again, just don't do as much. Just buy half a gram of Coke. Don't have 8 pints tonight. Just try and have 2. So what you do, Yinka, you start trying to buy into this lie every time. So you think, right, tonight I am going to go down the pub. I am going to have 2 pints of lager. I'm not going to touch cocaine. I'm going to watch the football. I'll be at home at 11.
Okay.
Never.
But
Never.
because you know the chimps on your shoulder just laughing at you, saying, yeah, go on, knock yourself out on that one, Martyn. But we know the real truth there.
We do. That chimp is a bugger, right? And there's a lot of names for him, right? There's a lot of names. But the amazing thing is, that little bugger can still pop up. Not very often now in my sobriety. I can be driving along and a random thought might just land and go,
Yes.
oh, wouldn't it be nice just to stop and get a gram of Coke? You used to know a dealer that lived over there. But the thing is, today, I've got a gap in my mind. I do loads of meditation. This is another part of my journey. And I've got so much self-awareness and I've got a gap in the front of my mind that when this stuff comes in, it's only a thought. It's only a thought. We have millions and millions of these a day, right?
We do.
And I don't buy into it. I can laugh at it. I tell it to do one, if it does pop through. But when you're in active addiction, you're just on it, aren't you? You don't stop and breathe. You don't. As soon as that thought comes in, I might go down I might get on it. I'm on the phone. There's no pause. There's no gap.
Yeah.
But
0 to 100 straight away. There's a little walk as well. I've got this number, this, that, and the.
And you will always find it. You will always get it, whatever you want. But you just run with it. You're reactive, aren't you? You are so reactive to it. But what recovery, one of the biggest things about recovery is learning to pause.
Oh, you just took the words out of my head. Pause. As you said before, we have millions of thoughts on a daily basis. Why should this one be the dominant one? Why should this one be the dominant one?
But this is it. And people can get stuck, right? This is the sad thing. People get stuck in this cycle, okay? And addiction, I've lost a lot of close friends, God bless them, right? Because they haven't been able to see what is available to them in life on the other side of alcohol and drugs, right? So I lived in the alcohol and drugs world for 27 years. And I say there was fun at the beginning, and there was. But if you can't see, like when I went into recovery in 2018, if you can't see that sober is fun, do you like that? If you can't grasp that, people are like, what's the point? And I hear it so much. What's the point of living sober? It just sounds boring. But people, as I say, that don't give having a booze break long enough to see actually how much better life is having clarity of mind, not clouded in any way. People don't give it long enough. And people can go and do dry January, for example. And we could talk about this one all day, the pros and cons of this, right? It does good things for people that don't have a problem. If you've got a problem and you're trying to force yourself to go a month without, what happens on the 1st of February?
Absolutely.
Hallelujah, right?
Absolutely. Here's my reward.
This is it. And your mental side of your mind if you're like me doing dry January and you don't know you're an addict or you've got an addict makeup, all through these 30 days, every morning you're going 29 days,
Absolutely.
28 days. You're obsessing. It's the
Yeah.
mental obsession, right? So the mental obsession, for me, I've described it, writing off how bad things were, buying into the lie. But the mental obsession, if you're doing dry January and you're constantly thinking about the 1st of February, that ain't right. You need to check yourself, because you shouldn't have to be reliant on it. And dry January does loads of good work. It does, alcohol chains do amazing work. Okay. But the danger point of it is, if you have got a problem with alcohol and you're removing it that quickly from your body, which is a massive one,
Yeah.
seizures are possible. And then what will happen? Your body will have a lovely rest and it will be like your best mate for the whole month. And then you're just going to, pardon my, knock the shit out of it come February.
Absolutely.
You're going to put it into shock. So I've just gone off on a little tangent there, but it just goes to highlight, like, having self-awareness through remaining sober. It's the biggest gift you can. It is, and I'm so grateful, as I say, because a lot of people don't get to where I am.
A lot of people don't get that opportunity. In your recovery, I'm assuming you've done AA, NA, etc., etc. You've had to make a lot of amends as well, haven't you?
Do you know what I have? And my pathway, I actually ended up in rehab. What actually happened, and we'll get to rehab now, is I mentioned about my consequences just taking off through the years. And like the last 3 years, I started getting in trouble with the police, just, minor stuff, just being drunk and just off my face every time I was out. And I actually got into an altercation with somebody I was seeing at the time. And it was an alcohol, drug fueled row. I ended up getting arrested. And my older brother actually was getting messages and he was getting emails from people that knew me and my brother. They were sending stuff to him going, man, your brother's in trouble. Your brother's in trouble. He needs help, right? He needs help. So when I got arrested this time in 2018, in January, the last time, Saturday the 13th of January, the last time I took a drink or drug, I was in the police station and I had nobody left to call to bring me home, because what happens is you push away your mates, right?
100%, yeah.
My addiction took me behind the closed door. I was that bloke at the end that you walk in a pub, you walk out, you go, oh my God, here he comes. So I actually took my drinking and my using behind the front door at the end. I didn't go out. I was,
Well,
solo, man, solo. I didn't want people to see me. I was just, I just sat in that front room of my house, alcohol, cocaine, laptop, because I found online gambling, which we can come on to,
wow.
which
Yeah,
was that is another, it's a huge one to add that into the mix. But that was my life, just sat in my front room, right, for the last few years. And I had no friends left. I pushed them all away. This is what we do, because I actually wanted that party for one at the end. As sad as it is, Yinka, man, I wanted just to be alone with my drug of choice and my alcohol just on my laptop. And so I had to phone my mum to get me at the police station. And I asked her to take me home. And basically she was like, no, you're not coming home to your house. You're coming back to ours. And I was like, oh, right, okay. Because going back to the family home was like a safe haven for me. I knew I was going to get some food because I wasn't eating at the end. I'd have a Rustler burger every couple of days. That's how grim it got.
Wow.
2, if I was having a good day, if there was a special offer. So I knew I could go back to the family house, maybe have a snooze, get some food. I walked in that house. My brother was in the front room with all these bits of paper. It was an intervention, man, that saved my life. I hated him at the time for what he'd done. It's like, tell us about your cocaine. Tell us about your drinking. What happened last night with this girl? And I was put in this position with my mum and my dad there. The interesting is, the first thought that came into my mind was, you can get away with this. This is what this monkey done to me, right? But then my second thought was, you've had enough. Hang your boots up. Stop. This, whatever you want to call it, a bit of divine intervention and whatever happened there and then. So I agreed to go to see the doctor on the Monday. This was on the Saturday. And I'm just giving a bit of context to the question you asked about, obviously, AA, because when I went to the doctor, unfortunately, they don't get a great deal of time training around addiction. When I went to him about my gambling problem, because I did break down about gambling to my family before this to get some sort of help, and I saw my doctor for that, and he just threw me some antidepressants, right? So I started taking them. I was sniffing them by the end. I was doing crazy stuff because I managed to stop gambling with the wonderful charity Break Even. I had some counselling sessions from them.
Okay.
They're amazing charity. Big shout out to Break Even. I had some free counselling and it stopped me gambling. But I still continued to drink and take drugs, right? I couldn't get honest with my family in this middle period until this intervention happened that I'm, speaking of. So I saw the doctor again and I said to him, I've got a problem with cocaine and alcohol. And, it was great, but he just recommended rehabilitation. He didn't actually suggest AA, CA, NA. I know today they do. And there's a lot of work done with the local doctors and public information work. I know they do a lot of that today. But for me, he recommended rehabilitation. And do you know what? I knew I needed to be taken out of the world because a lot of people can walk into AA or CA and hats off to them. They can walk into this meeting, they can go a few times, they can stop drinking, they can stop using. I was a danger to myself, right, at the end, where my addiction took me to. Because what I will share now, little trigger warning going out. The place that it took me to in that front room is not wanting to be here anymore. Okay.
We're talking suicide.
We are. And one of my big consequences sat in that front room, right? I've got all metal down my lower right leg. I had a big accident when I was in active addiction. And I was on crutches, the madness thing, drinking and using still, right? And I had a lot of strong medication in the house. And my partner had just left me, a few years prior because of my addiction. You get to an extremely lonely stage with addiction. And this isn't talked about enough, right? The loneliness that you create. So that my party big lifestyle was gone from all that down to the front room, just me. Just sat there, right? And it's those thoughts again that I was buying into because I was reactive, and they are just thoughts. Anybody going through having this dark time, maybe you are struggling, they are just thoughts, right? And you've got a choice if you're sober, the way you react to it, right?
Absolutely.
I wasn't never sober when these came in.
So you're less inhibited, as it were.
This is it. So what's the point started to come in? What's the point? I was fed up of crawling around my floor at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday morning looking for specks of coke in between the floorboards, naked, sweating. Do you know, I'm just creating a picture because this is real. This is where it took me to, you know, on my own, not eating, crawling around, trying to find. And that thought come in, and I took a lot of medication that I had in the cupboard and half a bottle of vodka, man, and just went, take me. I just don't want a beer. I don't want a beer. And yeah, just going to pause for a minute there because
and I notice you pausing there.
Because every time, you know, and I'm very grateful. I do a lot of work around this stuff, and I share my story a lot. But every time I do it, it's because of where I'm now. I'm just so grateful that coming from that place, being able to get into rehab, and I did go into rehab that I self-funded. I had a small bit of money left in the house that my partner left me in. I put it all into rehab because this is how much I wanted to change, Inca. When I got into that rehab, we've got to your answer of your question now. We've been a long way round it. AA, we've got there. When I got to the rehab, they suggested to me that you come out, we take you to AA. You need to be round other people that are struggling, that are like-minded.
Yes.
And
what do you think the rationale was for that?
Because the thing is, right, and it's clear as mud today, another person going through a journey with addiction, they understand you. You don't have to know them. They know how your mind works. And when you share something, you start talking about something, you can relate, okay? You can create a connection very, very quickly with a like-minded person that's on the same journey as you. Because family and friends, as much as they love you, they want you to get well, they don't understand. Why won't he just stop doing that? He's killing himself. Why can't you just have one? And do you know what? The disease of addiction, the stigma around it, I do so much work with charities. I was in Parliament yesterday for Taking Action on Addiction, which is a massive national campaign led by the Forward Trust. I do a lot of work to try and help break this stigma stuff down and to get a better understanding. And this better understanding isn't just for loved ones that I'm talking about. This is for professionals. This is for people that work in the hospitals on the acute alcohol ward.
Absolutely.
Here he comes again. No, not here he comes again. Why can't you just stop? He's ill. So when I got to this rehab, it was a revelation to meet others that were in the rehab suffering like myself. I got taken out into the meetings, the 12-step meetings. And I also got told, which is the biggest one, Yinka, I suffer with a mental and physical disorder. Okay. And I've also got, whatever you want to call it, a hole in the soul, this massive void within me that I need to fill.
Yes.
And this doesn't have to be alcohol or drugs.
No.
I've just got over my Haribo addiction. I go to 8-chain now. So it can be anything. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To fill this hold, it could be shopping, it could be food, it could be sex, right? But I obviously I went the full way. I hit every branch with my addiction.
Yeah.
But I was just so grateful to be in a safe place for a month and be told that it's okay. You do suffer, you know, with this. And the only way forward is to live a life of abstinence. And there comes a big shock when you've been on it for 27 years.
Absolutely. How was that receiving that message for you?
Oh my God. The first time I got told that, my mind was like, it done it in two parts again. It went, what? I can never just party. I can't go out anymore. But then there was another side to me that went, oh, shut up. You've done it. It's over. So I had the parallel, right?
Yes.
And I lived a massive party lifestyle in the 90s. And as I say, I'm grateful to experience what I did at the time. But obviously, I've described my makeup and the things that have obviously snowballed my progression with the alcohol and drugs to actually get me to that point. But yeah.
Why do you think, compared to yourself, because your kid, he was into his music and all of that, wasn't he?
He
You
was,
know?
man.
And why do you think he didn't go down that same avenue as yourself?
You know, in the 90s, yeah, he did. He done well. He was playing in a iconic 90s band, and
What was the name of that iconic 90s band?
it's a prodigy. So
The G.
yeah,
Okay.
so he was one of the early guitarists, and at the time, you can imagine like being a younger sibling watching it explode in the
That
90s,
must have been
man. It was
must have been
mental.
amazing for you.
It was mental. So now I said this, everyone's now piecing
Yeah.
everything together.
Ah, now it makes sense.
No, but can you having an addict makeup, having undiagnosed ADHD, and having that land in front of you? That is a recipe for the biggest bomb to go off, right?
Absolutely. Manna from heaven, as it were.
It was, and I had some good experiences. I was well looked after, and the thing is, at the time when he was playing with them, he managed it, and I, I was just a mess. I was a mess, right? Just backstage and their door staff, and I went on to work for Con. God bless him. Is no longer with us. Super Con. He was Keith's bodyguard, Cornelius Murphy, and I was so in awe of this man, watching him look after the band. In my addiction, I was like, I want to be him. I watched how he was just the most amazing close protection guy, right? And another part of my journey, where I went for work is I went into the entertainment industry myself and I DJ'd. I was a Butlins Redcoat in the early days. And because I saw this life of entertainment and I kind of knew subconsciously I might be able to drink and take drugs while I do it.
Absolutely. But there's that old adage, don't get high on your own supply, as it were. You know it's there and you want to feel the entropy, the energy around it all, but you can't participate if you're going to function effectively.
This is it. You said it effectively. I thought I did, man. From the age of 17, I went away. I was a Butlins Redcoat, right, for 4 or 5 years. Then I went to DJ, and then I went and done some stuff out in Magaluf, and then I went into the security game because of I saw someone looking after the band, and I wanted to be just like him. And I went on to become a doorman, and I'd done my close protection license. And the ironic thing is that I'm going back to here is when I was out and about watching them and stuff, he was having to babysit me. I was too much. I was having to be removed from backstage areas and stuff, right? Because, I was in that world, but I couldn't do anything responsible. I couldn't just have a drink. I couldn't just have a line of coke. I had to have everything, and it's only going to end one way. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that whole experience of the 90s, I'm very, very grateful to have lived through it. I'm very grateful to still be alive today because a lot of people aren't that I know,
Well,
and
you and that was something as I don't know subconsciously whether or not the people who are no longer with us, you may not acknowledge that. You may have, you may do, but that must have had an impact on you, even subconsciously. There's been casuals. I know through the rave scene and all that there have been casualties, etc. So
do you know what the sad thing is, mate? The sad thing is I can recall getting out of hospital once because I had a few visits during my active addiction, as you can imagine. I remember getting picked up the time I broke my tib and fib in my right leg, my mate picked me up from hospital. My first question or text to him was, make sure you bring some beer with you. Right. So even though this was the catalyst of me now having a pinned and plate leg, he picked me up and I cracked a can, right? And we drove home. This is the insanity of it. I got inside my house and he said, my mate Al, Alex, my close mate, he said to me, I've got something to tell you, but I don't know how to approach it. He said, your mate Chase is dead. And Chase, I worked the doors with, his heart stopped, right? And we used to party together. And my reaction to that is so off the wall. What's the first thing I'd done to cope with that?
Go on, you phone somebody up, yeah.
To pick up, right?
Yeah.
This is the insanity of it.
Yeah.
When you're in it, you hear these things. Leah Betts, do you remember? She passed away, bless her. She was from Essex, you know, God bless you. And that was the time when I was raving and taking ecstasy. But everyone was going, oh, yeah, that was all on the news. But there was no, it's just, it's insanity.
It was like it was a separation from what your world was, you know, but it was all under the same roof.
Do you know what? You never think it's going to be you.
100%. 100%.
And, you know, I have lost a lot of people, you know, in my journey, my whole journey from when I got sober in 2018 up until today, it hasn't been straightforward because just because I'm sober, it doesn't mean everything's unicorns and fluffy and do you know what I mean? Life goes on and stuff happens, you know.
Absolutely. Have people tried to test you or challenge you, as it were?
I've had a lot to deal with, you know, and I wouldn't say it's challenging because they wanted to. You know, my partner, bless her, I've been through 2 cancers with her. She's had bowel cancer. She's had thyroid cancer. She's my stepdaughter. She's, you know, had her own goings on. As I say, in 2019, I think I lost 5 family members and close friends. But I'm still sober, man. And the thing is,
it's nice to hear you say that, you know, because for some people they could just press the fuck up button.
That big button, man, that big button, and it's so easy. I'm that far away from my next drink, right? And the thing is with this recovery stuff, you've got to want it. You have to want it, right? And what I'm grateful for, and I'll say it again, I have lived an absolutely crazy bonkers life, right? From the 90s all the way through. And my take on it is there's nothing left for me to do, right? There's no fun left in getting on it. You know, it nearly killed me. And what I have done, what we'll come on to now, I've built a good life in recovery. And I've managed to create, obviously, Sober is Fun, which is the UK's first alcohol-free comedy club.
Okay.
I do a lot of work with addiction charities. I'm an ambassador for Taking Action on Addiction. I do work for mental health charities. I put on men's mental health events to get people talking, not necessarily about addiction. It could be anything. But since I got sober in 2018, I didn't want to go straight back into the entertainment world, right?
Okay.
I tiptoed DJing a little bit, and I worked out that I was better when I was off my face. So that's quite ironic. I didn't go back to it. I didn't go back full steam into the comedy industry because I still was finding my own in my recovery journey. And my last job before I went into actually rehabilitation, I was booking comedy and I was working for a comedy agency. And when I said I was going to go to rehab, right, some people, even the ones that I was drinking with, work with, were like, what? oh my God, why are you doing that? Why? But these are the people that were telling me, not wanting to go out with me. This is right. Check this out. These people were saying to me, you don't need, but hang on. When you've been out with me, you're telling me I'm too much, and you phone me the next day to tell me what a nightmare
what
I
you
am.
did, absolutely.
Do you know why that is? That is because you're a reflection in the mirror to some people with their own shit, right?
Yeah.
And just because I'm choosing to sort it out, some people don't like that, right? Some people don't like that. So what happens is I get sober and I can see how a stand-up comedy show with no alcohol could work. I could see a market, right? And at the beginning, it was a bit recovery focused, granted, my journey. But then I knew it was going to be a long game. But I also knew that people don't drink alcohol because of faith reasons. I know people abstain for a healthy lifestyle. They've never had a problem. The umbrella started to open.
Okay.
And I could see something that nobody else could, right? I got laughed at from the biggest mountain, from professional stand-up comedians, from professional bookers. They're all laughing at me, going, oh, what's he trying to do? It's never going to work. I made it work because you've only got to tell someone that it's not going to work.
That's a red flag to you. That's a red flag to you.
Because I've worked my little socks off on this, right? And it's been a labor of love. It's sober is fun. Because it is, if you work either by just putting your drink down and not going back to it and working on yourself, you don't have to be in recovery, man. You just need to know why you drink, right? This is the big one. So at my events, we see people that do drink, right, every so often, but they don't want to be around. You know,
Yes.
Barry from Basildon that's getting up to go to the toilet every 2 minutes to powder his nose. They don't want that. Absolutely. And I've seen how great comedy events have been spoiled, right, by alcohol. And, you know, a lot of people don't realise that heckling isn't actually something you do in a comedy club. A lot of people think that's what you do when you go to a comedy club. And if you're listening, thinking I'm talking absolute rubbish, you need to check your thinking, right? Because you're the one that's going just to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Because this is a whole new thing. When you're going to an event, take 20 people, 20 blokes going to a comedy night. 10 of them are there for the comedy. The other 10 are there to get wasted. It's another excuse, right? So what I'm doing is I'm removing any pressure to drink. You've got top professional stand-up comedians, right? Big acts that are now playing my shows that have been on live at the Apollo. You know, I've got loads of big acts coming down to play these shows. And the atmosphere in the room at Backyard Comedy Club, we do it on Sunday afternoons. The next one is a big one on Sunday, the 20th of September at 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon at Backyard.
We'll put that out. We'll put that out for you.
Thank you. It's supporting the Taking Action on Addiction campaign, okay? And we've got Jeff Norcott headlining, man. You know, I used to work with Jeff back in the day, and I'm just so happy he's agreed to come and do it with us.
Frank Skinner as well.
He hasn't played our club. What he has done, he's seen it. He's been into a venue where we were, and he's given his great words of wisdom. What a great idea, man. He's actually said, do you know what? But he's never, you know, he's never played today. But, you know, John Thompson, but, you know, we've got other, like Dana Alexander, she's coming down to host on the Sunday, the 20th. We've got Pat Smith, who is a massive viral comedian, is one of the funniest.
Smith, and James Redman, they've both been on the head.
Yeah, and Josh Bolf is coming, man, who was on Britain's Got Talent. You know, you've got the viral comedians that are doing big things now, and this is another conversation about viral comedians and people that work the circuit, blah 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 blah. but they have found a platform, right?
Yes, they
They've
have.
found a platform, and these guys are hilarious, right? So in September, man, we've got some of the biggest, stand-up comedians, online viral comedians, no alcohol at the Backyard Comedy Club. Come and experience it, man. Come and
Brilliant,
experience it.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Martyn, how's it been for you being on Hurt Locker?
I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. When it come in, I know you guys do so much work. I've heard of you, and I've seen it out there. So kudos to you guys and for the hard work that you do.
It's guests like you that make it.
Thank you.
That make it possible. Seriously, it's guests like you. It's really important that we can talk about real life experiences, lived experiences, and that there can be a light at the end of the tunnel.
This is it, man. You are a beacon of light, man. I'll say that, because we've talked about people that just give up or just what's the point? Like I nearly did. And I do a lot of advocacy work, as I've said before. I'm not one of these nightmare social media influencers. That's not me,
Yes.
I'm not about that. But when I speak and when I do something, there's always a essence to why. And I like to think that my message, once you've heard where I've come from, that people can actually go, bloody hell, you can do it. Do you know, you really, really can do it, because this is what it's about. So
I'm not blowing smoke off your bumhole, but what you've given today is authenticity.
thank you.
You know,
Thank you, mate.
sincerely, authenticity.
Thank you, mate. I just need people to know, because there are the sad fellows out there that don't make it, right? The ones that
There
give
are,
up, and the
there
ones
are.
that buy into those thoughts in their heads. And please just remember, they are only thoughts. And if you are struggling, man, please just talk to somebody, because I felt so alone. I've talked about that loneliness, right, in my
Yes.
front room. And we can
Yeah.
talk about shame and guilt, the shameful things we've done, the guilt, right? There's not just you. There's millions of us that have done this shit, right?
100%, 100%.
But you think you
We're
are
alone.
you are not alone. You're loved, man.
Absolutely.
To anybody that is
Absolutely.
listening, I love you, right? I don't even know you, but I know what it's like to be an extremely, I'm getting poor. My emotions are going now. I know what it's like to be in an extremely painful position. And I just want to give hope that you just need to start a conversation if you're struggling with anybody. Find me, reach out to me if you can't talk, because the shame and the guilt is the stuff that will kill you. And today, there is a lot of help out there. We can see this negative stuff in the press. Everybody loves negative about mental health, right? There's a lot of wonderful people like yourself, independent charities that I work with, that are open, and they can get you support now,
100%.
right?
100%.
So please just open the door if you are
Brilliant.
struggling.
Can I ask, you can only pick one person, but who's the most important person in your life?
Wow. Do you know what I'm going to say? I've never said it before.
Go on.
It's me.
Brilliant.
I have to love me so much, right?
Brilliant. I'm not even going to say what I usually say, but you just nailed it.
I
Brilliant.
love everybody. I might not like you all, but I do love you all. Right? I do honestly love you all. But I've had to love myself back, right? And
that's the hardest love of all, I think.
mate, when I wanted to kill me, when I used to look in the mirror after being on a coke binge, just looking at this,
Would you cry?
oh mate, used to cry in my coke, right? Used to sit there crying, sniffing it. Man. And the thing is, when you're in that dark hole, you can't see the light, man. And you know what? Sometimes you have to have something wake you up in your life. Me getting nicked, right?
Yeah.
Was that meant to happen? Yes, it was meant to happen.
Of course.
And was me moving into this house with a Buddha Rupa sat in 2 rooms with a Buddhist center over there meant to happen? Yes. Was I meant to be on a journey following the Dharma today? Yes. You know, if you look at my journey, you can't write it. It's my meditation just to bring it is how I stay well. People always say, how do you remain well? You know, I meditate a lot, twice a day.
Yes.
I surround myself with like-minded people. I help others.
Brilliant.
If you're trying to abstain on your own, I've got a bit of advice. You can't do it. I've seen people try and do it. You can do it for a period of time, okay? But you need to be able to be with people that get you.
Community.
So just a little bit of wisdom at the end there. Yeah, you know, you will get to where you need to go, but sometimes we have to go over a few bumps, right? And these bumps, man, it was a manhole. It wasn't a bump for me. I went deep to the deepest, darkest depths, right? And as I've said, if I've helped one person listening out there,
more than Martyn, Davies, you've been a fabulous guest on the Hurt Locker. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on, Yinka.
It's a pleasure. The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.